Perfect. It looks like we're live on YouTube and Facebook. We're almost done, and then we can get started here. Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. We are going to go ahead and kick off our live broadcast today. As you are starting to hop on with us, please make sure that you hit the like button and start commenting so I can see who you are that is tuning in and engaging with us on these live broadcasts. If it is your first time on our page, then I would like to wholeheartedly welcome you to our Westminster Chamber platform. Please make sure that you hit the like button and the follow so you can get those timely alerts when we do go live. And if you are coming back to us as a viewer, we appreciate you engaging with us, sharing this out to your network, and of course, want to welcome you back to our page. Now, for those of you that are not aware, we've been doing these live broadcasts since March. You can find many of them on the video section of this Facebook page. They're also available on our YouTube channel where we are actively streaming it today. That's Westminster Chamber of Commerce. And of course, you can engage with us on all of our social media platforms. That's Instagram and Twitter at Westy Chamber, and on LinkedIn, Westminster Chamber of Commerce. So on Thursdays, you all are aware that I dedicate this time for our nonprofit corner. And if I haven't already introduced myself to you, which you should know me by now, I'm Juliette Abdel, President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce. And I'm privileged to be able to work with a variety of professionals in so many different industries that are supporting our community and supporting our state. So I had the pleasure of interacting with Lonnie just in the last week or so. She is spearheading a variety of initiatives for the American Red Cross, their chapter that really covers Colorado and Wyoming. So excited to have you on here with us, Lonnie. Thank you for being a part of my broadcast. And I'll just go ahead and mute myself and just have you take it away if you can, by sharing a little bit about you and your role, and then just broadly, about the Red Cross, maybe how it relates to COVID, and especially as it relates to the fires that we've been seeing across the state of Colorado.
Well, thank you very much, Juliette. Again, my name is Lonnie Kohler. I'm with the American Red Cross. And as many of you know from media reports and so on, it's been a very active summer this year. Most of us Red Crossers have really almost gone from, one disaster response to the next disaster response, whether it be hurricanes or fires in California, Oregon, Washington, and then, of course, the fires that we are experiencing in Colorado and Wyoming. So it's been very, very active. We're really hoping now with the snow that we received about a week and a half ago will keep that fire laying low, and we don't have to worry about more evacuations. It's been very interesting, and I thought I would probably just kind of give you a little bit of a timeline on how this all happened. It really kind of started with that big fire outside of Glenwood Springs. Fortunately, we didn't have a lot of evacuations on that particular fire, and the wonderful Colorado wildfire firefighters did an amazing job keeping it from spreading to most housing areas. And then we had a couple other little small fires here and there, and then of course we had the Cameron fire outside of Fort Collins. And then that one awful day where the winds picked up and pushed that fire closer and closer to Fort Collins and Loveland. And along the way, it was taking out, people's first homes or their secondary vacation homes. And it's very scary for the people that are involved in the fire. And we, the Red Cross, we try really, really hard to make sure that, we kind of help them digest the stress and find a place of safety with us. And in this point, with the COVID environment, we are having to do a non-traditional shelter type of a situation, which generally refers to as hotel rooms. So with the fire approaching Fort Collins and Loveland, and so we had a lot of evacuations coming to the various hotels within Fort Collins and Loveland and Westminster. Really wherever we could find hotel rooms to safely place our evacuated people. And then you had the fire, the East Troublesome fire, and that probably got the most press nationally. But one of my responsibilities, my responsibility in this role right now is called community engagement and partnerships. And I was watching what they call a blog, where all the different firefighters, the county, the emergency management, and so on are posting on that blog what's going on out there. And I remember sitting on the couch with my husband, and I get a ding on my phone, and I look at my phone, and it says, "The fire is racing, the fire is moving, the winds are horrible up here. We're evacuating." And I was, as fast as I possibly could, sending that information on to our leadership so that we could be prepared for whether it be an evacuation center or the hotels. So we had people that were coming up over Trail Ridge Road, and then we had people coming down through Winter Park onto I-70, heading to Denver, heading to the Silverthorne area. And so, we're ready for this. I mean, as chaotic as it was and as stressful as it was, we were ready for this. I'm mostly in almost all the meetings, and I can tell you, we kind of thought about everything that might be happening. So just watching the intensity of those messages coming across, and then I thought about the people that are having to flee their homes, and sometimes with like 5 minutes to gather their belongings, and it's really, really hard. And so everybody within the Red Cross, whether it be health services or mental health people or spiritual care people, we were all ready to help these clients. So that was pretty real exciting time. And then the next day, it starts spreading to Estes Park. And before we knew it, they were having to evacuate, people in Estes Park. And the hotel rooms were filling up. It was really mind-boggling. I've been on a lot of deployments, like hurricanes and so on, but the one thing about the hurricanes is you kind of get to plan in advance that this hurricane is coming towards you. But then with the fire, you had literally, just wherever the wind wanted to blow. So very, very interesting times. Some statistics about what we just experienced. At its height, we were housing actually over 5,000 people in hotel rooms, in non-traditional hotel rooms. And you might have also seen some of the stats on the news, but 32,500 something meals served. And all of this is really due to the generosity of the community that embraces these evacuees. We provide the housing, but we've had plenty of hotels, people that had food that wanted to give in any way they could possibly do. And so part of my job is to take every one of those offers, and there were hundreds. I mean, everybody from, I have a trailer and I can help evacuate horses. I have a basement that's completely empty if you need a place for people to stay. I'll make cookies. All of those really heartwarming things. And it really was amazing how the community just all came together in so many different ways, whether it be a private citizen or a business. And we log every one of those donations, respond back with a thank you, whether it's by email or by phone call. And then on a special spreadsheet, we can access that as the need arises. And so that's part of what my group does. But it was very interesting time. We had we have 255 volunteers that are still on the job. A lot of us are starting to roll off because the fire is starting to lay down. And now we started to what we call the recovery process. And everybody who lost a home or needs assistance, we assign a caseworker to that person, and then they start to help with a long-term type recovery. Right now, we have about 249 people that are still in our hotel rooms, about 107 rooms, 6 hotels, and we're also helping 1 KOA campground. Um, Again, the support that we provide is everything from shelter to feeding to health services. If you have a health feed, mental health, which for the people that have lost their homes is devastating, spiritual help, and then another group that I'm part of called disability integration. So somebody comes and I had one lady, for instance, in Estes Park. She has MS, and she couldn't take all of her belongings. And so part of my group is to help get those belongings back to her by, going to different nonprofit sources and other places to provide that type of equipment. Another question that often I get is the COVID situation. Well, non-traditional sheltering is what we're having to do now. You might know us, for instance, of taking a whole high school gym and putting in cots in there, and that's where people would stay. And, even under COVID, guidelines, the best way really to help people not get COVID is to keep them isolated within hotel rooms. And so that's why we had so many hotel rooms and so many hotels for all of the 5,000 plus people that needed sheltering. And, some other really cool COVID things that we do is the Red Cross is really good about training us. So we had COVID classes that we were required to watch and attend so that we knew the best practices for COVID, not only for ourselves, but also for our clients and our peers. How do we take care of everyone in that circle? So, lots of training goes into that. And in most cases, depending on the disaster, a COVID safety officer is also assigned. And that COVID safety officer is responsible for making sure all of this is working. Goes around to the various different shelters to make sure everybody's doing okay. They're practicing what we call CDC, cover, distance, and clean. And, that is the predominant what we have to do in making sure that everybody stays safe. So it's been a really interesting summer. Very gratifying, very fulfilling, very sad for the people that have lost their homes. And again, I think that the community is really rallying around people that have lost their homes. And of course, they can always count on the Red Cross. We're always going to be there for them. So, but it's been interesting, and I've learned so much during this time. And I think everybody else is just really relieved for the snow and the cooler weather.
Oh, absolutely. I know. I can't think of anybody that was not praying for that snow to come down. Now, granted, we didn't really want the cold that was accompanying it or to be on the road, but it was definitely the positives that are going to come from it, and hopefully it would put a stop to seeing Colorado being on fire. So thank you for going over a lot of that information. I see Brian had on here, and Deandra. Deandra is one of our partners over at a local hotel that's in the area. So I know that they have been plugged in a little bit. So thank you both for hopping on and engaging with us on this platform. For those of you that are just now tuning in, we have Lonnie from the American Red Cross sharing a lot of information about their chapter that covers Colorado and Wyoming, some of the response to the fires that took place. She did provide a lot of metrics for us, the 32,000 meals that you all were providing to those that had to be evacuated out. I mean, that is astronomical amount. And then going into the COVID response that you made, from the trainings that you offered in courses to some of those COVID safety officers that you had in place. This is all impressive work. And I've tried to capture and give you justice through a lot of the comments that I've put into the comment section of this broadcast. So anyone that is hopping on here has any questions in specific as it relates to the fires or the COVID or just overall as it relates to American Red Cross, please be sure to type those comments in or any questions that you might have. But Lonnie, you know me, and I like to deep dive a little bit whenever I can. And of course, you guys did not anticipate these fires to be happening, nor did you anticipate COVID. This is like a 2020 year that has truly leveraged a lot of the skill sets that you guys have. I mean, it really is. And like, I can't think of anybody that does not feel that same sentiment, but more so you guys have been in that position to respond to emergencies and needs. So I feel like this is definitely stretching that capacity and being able to service that. To that end, I'm sure as many organizations plan for a new year and plan ahead, 2020 likely had some plans that maybe are a little bit different. Do you want to touch a little bit about what some of the overarching goals were for the organization maybe prior to these that have risen up as a priority?
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the interesting facts with the American Red Cross is our year to year is not based on a calendar year. It is July to July, and so between that period of time, there was no way to anticipate the COVID wave. We barely even knew it was out there from the time that we were getting our budgets ready. And did we know that, all of these disasters would be hitting just one after the other? It's really hard to kind of prepare for that. And that's really one of the big things that the fundraising efforts that go on during an event like this is so crucial, because if we had to provide hotel rooms for over 5,000 people, I don't know for sure if the budget wasn't there, but we got to believe between that and all the hurricanes that we got hit with, the fundraising that happens during an event, something like this, really helps us to continue providing that type of service. So that whether it be the next time or just to help us right now, fundraising is just so key for us.
And I'm so glad you touched on this, because again, whenever we visited last, we were referencing some of the fundraising activity that really circulated around this. And if I'm not mistaken, some of it was picked up on our local news channels, and that seemed to be somewhat of a successful campaign in itself.
Hugely, all of the news stations in one shape or form have been amazing contributions to the fundraising. And in particular, Kyle Clark with Channel 9 on his Next. He, just like you, he partners with a particular nonprofit or subject matter expert or something like that. Was really instrumental in getting, that fundraising engine going for us. And, the big thing that happens, I think, with any type of a fundraising is sometimes people get tapped out. It's like, okay, we're constantly asked to donate, we're asked to, and so on. And the fact that Coloradans and outside of the state of Colorado, people were digging into their pockets because they knew that help was needed. And again, whether it was somebody who was offering their pasture land, to put, horses and sheep and so on, to, a Girl Scout troop who did their own little fundraising effort and contributed what they had and, put it into the fundraising for Colorado and Wyoming. It really was magical just to see how the community rallied and how other people rallied around the needs of these evacuees.
And so to that end, can we talk a little bit more about the Red Cross and your funding mechanism? Are you relying solely on private sector dollars that come through these fundraising activities that take place throughout the year? Are there grants that you generally apply for, or is there funding that's received from state or federally even for some of the initiatives that you do take on?
That's really not in my bailiwick of information. But, I think all of us know, the Red Cross has been around for over a century. Mm-hmm. So, during that century, how many times, whether it be World War II or a hurricane or a fire, or something like that, that fundraising efforts become even more necessary. So, whether or not it's private sector, it really is just everyone knowing that the Red Cross is going to take care of these people. And feed them, provide them with shelter, all of those things that really matter. And, not sure exactly where all that fundraising comes from, but I do know that the Colorado Wyoming fundraising is going exclusively to Colorado and Wyoming.
And I think that's always important for folks that are looking to donate, especially when we get into organizations that have numerous chapters, is the question is always raised on how much is coming back to our local communities, right? Is it going all to the top, or is it actually getting disseminated? So that's really great to know that it is going here to the responses that are taking place around this time. And one of the comments that you made earlier about how some of the donations that are coming in are from outside of Colorado, and I believe that. There was a phone call I was on with Virginia and some folks the other day, and the first question that was asked was, "How are the fires going right now in Colorado?" You know, we've been watching them, we're paying attention and reaching out. So it definitely is nice to see that sense of community nationwide and in support of the causes that are supporting that as well. So to that end, right, so one other question for you before I ask you if you had any final remaining remarks to make. This relates to one of our comments earlier, right? So these evacuees, once they are ready to return back home, they are assigned someone that is assisting them, or is more of that kind of expert that can guide them along the way and maybe connect them with partners in the community. So what does that look like? If you have a general sense on, a typical need that might arise from this, or one of the immediate connections that are made for those evacuees.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that we did with all of the wonderful donations of goods and services and so on is we created a Red Cross blog of different things that people could tap into if they needed assistance. Yesterday I had a client that needed more long-term assistance as far as finding a home, while she's rebuilding her home that she lost in the fire. And so the resource that I'm talking to can be found on a website, COWY redcrossblog.org. And you go to that, and we have Red Cross resources that we put on there. So everything from, okay, here's short-term housing. Do you need help with talking to your children about wildfires? Do you need, do you have concern about asbestos? All of those different things we put onto this resource page, and really know the value. We've also taken a lot of that and converted it to Spanish speaking, because there are a lot of Spanish speaking that had to be evacuated from some of these areas. So literally from things from cleanup and financial assistance, and do you need clothes? Do you need a warm coat? All of those things can be found on that resource blog. And it's continually growing. I mean, just today I opened up my emails and I have 5 more people, whether it be businesses or private citizens, that want to help in some way. And the media isn't covering it anymore. These are just people that are still coming from their hearts wanting to help.
That's so great to hear. I love that. I love that you are having that supportive response that's there. One of the comments that you just made about the Spanish translation, I think, is also very important. This is a community that we need to have all members of the community feeling welcome and able to access the resources that are there. And I don't know if you break down some of the metrics that you have to see, how many of those 5,000, for example, were either of a disadvantaged community potentially, or in a economic hardship capacity, and the recovery from it, whether that would be, significantly more delayed than some of their other peers that are there.
Well, one of the things that we try really hard with the Red Cross is knowing the demographics per area and what the likelihood of different languages are. I was working Hurricane Florence in North Carolina a couple of years ago, and I wasn't aware of it, but there was a really big demographic population of people from Somalia, and they had a couple of the children that did speak English and so on and could help with some translation, but we had the resources to get to, for instance, a language line that could help us with that interpretation. Because the last thing you want to do is somebody's had to flee their home for whatever reason. They're scared, they're stressed. Somebody speaking to them in the language that is preferred really goes a long way to making them feel, really good. But as far as, numbers and so on, I don't know for sure what the numbers are, but I could tell you we were prepared.
Well, and it sounds like it, right? I mean, it sounds like you are taking a very robust approach, and you wouldn't be if you haven't been around for decades, right? So you've seen one disaster, and they differ from one to the next, but you've learned some things and you have them in place. Then it makes it a little bit easier when you're entering a newer situation. With assessing and being as responsive as you can be. So we are getting close to our 30-minute mark. Was there anything you wanted to share with folks, Lonnie, about whether if they wanted to get involved with you or just in general for people to be mindful of during this time?
Mhm. Well, I guess the big thing that I really, really want to do is say thank you and provide you with a virtual hug because, uh, the community and the people, I know I've said this, but it really, really was amazing. And, not only to the evacuees that you made a difference, but to us too. I mean, it, it was unlike anything I've ever experienced, really, and it's just been so heartwarming. Um, of course, you can still give at redcross.org, and you can actually say, I want this to go to the Colorado, Wyoming fires. And there are different groups that are putting on different things, what we call a DAC, or Disaster Assistance Center. Some of our nonprofit VOED, we call them, so they're partners of ours. And they're putting on, little, resource centers and little DACs where you can get, for instance, clothing or diapers or baby formula. And it's really those that are kind of taking it from a mass and helping others. And then we're helping then on the singular level with the caseworkers and helping them get back on their feet.
I so love that. Thank you so much for going into those details. And for those of you that are hopping on here with us toward the end of our broadcast, this is going to be available to you at any point in time to rewatch, rewind. Please do share this out with your network so folks can know of the amazing work that the Red Cross is doing here in our backyard, some of the ways that you can engage with them and support them through their fundraising activities and just making sure that they are around. So when things are happening, it's not a scramble on how we can address it. It's more of them already having that to be able to make it happen, which is very evident with the fires. So I appreciate all you're doing out there, Lonnie, your team, and just the whole chapter. It takes a very special personality to do what you do, and it's a lot of heart that's into it. There's a lot of business, but at the end of the day, you are trying to support our community at large, and it warms my heart to see, even with a lot of what's going on nationally, right? A lot of the things that are happening, a lot of COVID. There's just so many things up in the air. But when situations like this happen, it really shows the humanity side of it. So I appreciate that. For those of you that are tuned in, thank you for being on here with us. Make sure that you like and share this out with your network. We will be back here tomorrow for our next broadcast at 11 a.m. And Lonnie, please do stay with me as I close this out. I know it takes it a second for me to close out, so don't want to lose sight of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.